Hi, everyone, and a very good afternoon to everyone present here. I'm your host, Khushi Mudgal, and I welcome you all to today's TechGig webinar on securing GCCs, identity-first strategy in an agentic and post-quantum world. It's an absolute pleasure to have all of you join us today. And to facilitate this session, folks, please join me in welcoming our distinguished speaker for today's session, Mr. Rohan Vaidya, Area Vice President for India and SAARC at CyberArk. He is a global leader in identity security with over 25 years of experience across industries such as telecommunications, BFSI, IT services, and media. He has held leadership roles at IBM, Xerox, Wipro, and K2 Partnering Solutions, driving growth across India, Southeast Asia, and the Middle East. A recipient of the Greatest Brand Builder Award at the CMO Asia Awards, he blends technical expertise with customer-centric leadership to help enterprises navigate digital transformation securely. And at CyberArk, he focuses on enabling organizations to stay ahead in an evolving threat landscape. And as part of the TechGig Leaders Circle, he is committed to mentoring and inspiring India's developer community as well. It's such a pleasure having you, Rohan, here with me today.
Thank you.
And now, moving ahead, about this session, in today's conversation, we will be exploring how GCCs are becoming high-value targets in an AI-accelerated world and why identity, not perimeter, is now the control plane for securing global operations. And this session will uncover that why agentic AI and autonomous systems introduce new identity risks, why the post-quantum encryption needs to be planned today, not tomorrow, and how GCCs can build a zero-trust foundation that scales with speed, talent, and global delivery pressures. We will also discuss how developers and engineering leaders can embed identity security into code, pipelines, and automation workflows, ensuring every credential, privilege, and machine identity is protected by design. By the end of this session, we aim to understand what a future-ready identity-first security blueprint looks like for GCCs and what teams must start implementing today to safeguard the products, platforms, and IP they build for the world. I would like to notify everyone that this session is scheduled for an hour. We will hear valuable insights from our guest speaker, and in the final 15 minutes, we will open the floor for an interactive question and answer round. So everyone, you can feel free to share questions anytime in the questionnaire window. And now we would like to get started. To begin with, let's take up some poll questions. All the attendees are requested to vote and let us know your views on the same. So beginning with the first poll question. So it is that since how much time have you been using agentic AI? And the options are never used, using for the last 3 months, since the last 6 months, or from the past 1 year. You all are requested to vote and let us know your views. We'll be having the poll on for another 30 seconds. You can let us know your views and we'll be able to know you better. And anytime you can put your questions in the Q&A window so that we'll take those questions up towards the end of the session as well. All right, we have some votes. We'll be keeping it on for another 5 seconds and then I'll be closing the poll. So all of those who are left, you can still let us know your views on the same. All right, so we have the results and we can see that we have the greatest percentage for never used, and then we have lesser percentage for the last 3 months, and then since 1 year, and towards the last we have since last 6 months. Which makes us move forward to the next poll question, which is, That is quantum computing going to affect the cybersecurity world? Do you think it will? Yes. Or do you think it will not? No. You can let us know if you think it is going to affect or not. We will be closing the poll in another 20 seconds, so you all can vote and let us know. So, of course, we have a great presentation after the poll questions as well. All right. So for this, we have 80% votes for yes and around 20% votes for no. So which makes us move forward to our last poll question for the webinar, which is how GCCs in India, which is how GCCs in India are taking over the global tech landscape. Do you think less likely, more likely, or largely? All of the attendees are requested to vote so that we can know your views, and you can also put your questions anytime in the Q&A window tab so that we'll be taking them up towards the end of the session. Last 15 seconds, post which we'll be wrapping up the poll section. All right, so for this one, we have around 61% for more likely, 25% for largely, and around 14% for less likely. So this makes us wrap up the poll questions. Thank you everyone for voting and letting us know your views. And now, Rohan, I would request you to take it forward from here.
All right, thank you. And Happy New Year to every one of you. Thanks for joining the session early in the year. And it's an interesting topic and an interesting way to look at it. And I hope I would be able to give you a little of sense of what I understand about GCCs and the agentic AI and the post-quantum world, how they're going to kind of interplay with each other in the security space. So we are at a pivotal moment where global capability centers, they call it the global competency centers, the GCCs, have evolved into strategic engines for enterprise AI innovation. This transformation brings a profound security challenge that demands an identity first strategy. The GCCs are now driving global processes and investing heavily in agentic AI. But the traditional security perimeter has been dissolved. We must shift our focus from securing the network boundaries to securing every identity, be it human identity or be it a machine identity that accesses our critical systems. This identity first approach is the only way to manage the risk introduced by autonomous AI and prepare the coming quantum threat. So let's explore the shift which is non negotiable to maintain the trust and control. And let me give you a little bit of statistics in what we see as GCCs. I mean, the poll questions did say that we are most likely going to be making a lot of change in the tech landscape globally. India today hosts about 1700 to 1800 GCC centers. I mean, there are some reports which kind of talk about close to 2000. About 100 odd centers came in the last few quarters, which is the late to 2025 kind of a thing. 92% of the GCC leaders affirm that the GCC now contributes far beyond a cost arbitrage. When we talk about GCCs, I think there is still a little bit of a hesitation in saying that is this just an extension of the BPO or the shared services that we were doing, or is it really now kind of pivoting into an IP creation, a high-end quality jobs that we will produce eventually for the global organizations? 83% are scaling Gen AI applications. 87% of the ownerships take end-to-end processes which are done in our GCCs here. And 45% participate in global decision making. So if you really look at it, GCCs is now a very, very different industry. And if you look at most of the consulting firms, be it the EYs of the world or the McKinseys of the world, now have dedicated partners and partner teams who kind of manage this business. So it is kind of a large part of the business which is there. Also, if I look at from an AI adoption perspective, because from where we were in the BPO world and what we are in the GCC world, I mean, we have frog leaped because of the AI, the generative AI or the agentic AI capabilities that have been here. I mean, what we see is that 86% of the GCCs are operationalizing business intelligence, which is now we're getting into a knowledge play. If we look at 67% percentage of the GCCs formalized data strategies for the globe from India. Digital transformation is a priority of about 61% of the centers which are there. Now, if I have to look at a little differently as to why GCCs must rethink identity and security in an agentic AI world, we just established that GCCs are now a strategic innovation hubs. But this leadership role comes with new risk. AI agents are the new digital insiders. And we've all talked about when you're coming from a cybersecurity perspective, the insider threat is one of the larger part of the problem. And in any fraud or any established breaches, you normally would see that there are some traces of an insider breach which happens. And if we have now introduced AI agents, which are the new digital insiders, I think there is a different challenge that we are going to be managing. 80% of our organizations have already encountered risky behavior of AI agents, including unauthorized access and data exposure. The core issue is that the agentic AI systems make autonomous decisions and take actions, creating entirely a new risk category, which in our human world and the machine world in the past was never that there, because everything was either a human who was going to be a weak link or there was a false program which would kind of make things. But making a decision on the fly based on certain circumstances is what these autonomous agents are doing today, which is a completely new risk category. We see change vulnerabilities where a flaw in one agent cascades across tasks and synthetic risks, where the attackers can force agent credentials to bypass control. Now, this is something which was more in the Wi-Fi movies or what we would kind of just kind of read in the sci-fi fiction books. But this is a reality. When agents operate across systems, APIs, and organizational boundaries, you cannot trust the perimeter. So whatever was there in the past is something which just can get bypassed. So the way of looking at it is you must verify every identity, every interaction continuously. This is why identity now becomes a critical control point for managing risks at scale. So whatever I do now, if I am able to continuously validate that this is the agent and this is the task which is being allotted, I think I'm in a much, much better situation. Now, building secure, scalable AI capability without slowing innovation, I think this is a theme in most of the boardrooms. Uh, there were pilots which went for the last few quarters, years. People invested money. They have really gone and signed up long contracts. They fired people because now they've got agentic AI and AI solutions in. But now, where the conversation starts is saying, can you really secure it? Can you scale AI capabilities? And can you really make sure that they don't come in my way of innovation? So the data reveals that the critical gap is about 58% of the GCCs are scaling agentic AIs, yet only 7% established dedicated security center of excellence, which means now you're scaling, but you haven't really looked at security. Security in the AI world is a second thought. You need to move fast to capture the AI opportunity, but you cannot afford to move insecurely. The good news is that the identity first approach accelerates the secure innovation. We must treat AI agents like employees by implementing machine identity management. I mean, you've heard about the identity management, access management, which has been there for more than 20 years now. And I think this now is applicable to the AI agent. This means that assigning verified digital credentials to every agent and enforcing least privilege access, we must also implement continuous verification. The old model of authentication, trust forever, in a way is dead. Every agent interaction requires real time authorization. The final governance must be agile. Define clear ownership for each AI use case and embed security in the development cycle. Ensuring governance enables scaling rather than blocking it. This framework allows you to build secure, scalable AI capabilities without slowing down your innovation engine. So this is something which you need to look at it as your major threat on the horizon. Leading the shift now, we did go through this question, which was quantum computing. I mean, everybody knows that we are at the corner of quantum computing really entering into our life, and there is a need to really start understanding what quantum computing can affect, not just from a benefit perspective to our life, but also from a cybersecurity perspective. The post quantum cryptography is a big conversation now in the cybersecurity world, because all our RSA encryptions and VCC encryptions may no longer be valid once the quantum computing kicks in, and that's a big conversation which is there. So we may have covered the immediate threats from agentic AI in the conversations that we had, but now we must really address the long-term the threat of quantum computing. There's a concept in the adversaries now that harvest now, decrypt later. What does that mean? That you may have an encrypted data. I start collecting that data and keeping it. And in the long term, when the quantum computing comes in, I will be able to use that compute power to really decrypt the data, which means your medical data, your bank things, your Aadhaar cards, and all these kind of things which are there, which are sensitively and long-lived data sets can be encrypted when quantum comes in. So I think the adversaries are capturing our encrypted data today, your IP, your financial records, and storing it, waiting for the quantum computers to break the current encryption standard. For the GCCs handling long-lived sensitive global data, this is not just a theoretical risk now, it is a strategic imperative. So one of the things which the GCCs should start really looking at, it's time to act now. I mean, NIST has finalized post-quantum standards like Kyber, but the migration is going to be complex, touching every system and protocol. So there is a need to start building a strategy around it. Your strategy needs to have a clear crypto agility. Design your systems or design your infrastructure so that you can swap cryptographic algorithms without really rebuilding your entire system. Starting with a hybrid approach, deploying both classical and post quantum algorithms, and critically ensuring that your identity infrastructure, the machine identities for your AI agent, is included in the quantum readiness plan. So we must really assess the process today. And this is a big conversation. And this is a very young conversation because the quantum consortium was just formed in 2016. So it's quite new in terms of what it can do. Also, quantum computing is still a very evolving subject. And there are so many things which come in. It's on the hardware side, it's evolving, on the chip side, it's evolving, on the algorithm side, it's evolving. So it's going to be on the job kind of a job to be done. Learn as you kind of move on and really keep evolving and be agile as much as possible to do that. So let's kind of look at an action framework on a larger play as to how would I, if I'm starting with the securing GCCs in the AI and quantum world, because we still have a little bit of a time, not really with AI, but with the quantum era to come in. So what can I start doing and building blocks today, which would kind of help me to build or kind of at least have lesser challenges as I move on. And the GCCs are here to stay. They're building strategies for those businesses on a long term. And if these GCCs have to be in business, there is a need to start thinking on a long term basis. So the convergence of AI, agentic AI, and quantum threats create an urgency, but it also creates an opportunity for GCCs to lead. We have distilled our strategy into three strategic imperatives for the next 90 days. So, first, let's establish identity as your security foundation. Implementing machine identity management for all AI systems and extend zero trust principles to autonomous workloads. Second, build agentic AI governance. Create centralized visibility into your AI portfolio. Define clear ownerships and establish human in the loop oversights for critical decisions. I think everything giving to the AI is still going to be a challenge. We haven't really got there. So a human in the loop is a very, very effective way to really keep monitoring and looking at challenges, and especially critical decisions can avoid a lot of hazardous situation if critical decisions there is a human oversight which is there. Third is begin the post quantum preparation. Conduct a cryptographic inventory and identify vulnerable systems and prioritize migrations based on data sensitivity. GCCs have the talent and a strategic position to pioneer these identity first, quantum ready security architectures. The organization that acts decisively on these three imperatives today define the security standards for AI and quantum era. So it's really time to start thinking on a wider basis, and the GCCs could eventually become consulting firms for the quantum era which is going to come. So it's a good foundational part which they start off with, and eventually could even add more knowledge workers and consulting areas to it. It could be just be a new business which could open doors. I mean, I thought that I could kind of do a little quick takeaway and call for action. So we've covered a lot of ground today, but the core message is simple. Time for decision making is now. The convergence of agentic AI and quantum threat demands a fundamental shift in our security posture. First, remember that the identity is the news perimeter. We must verify every agent and every interaction continuously, and extending zero trust principle to our autonomous AI loads is very, very important. Second, secure innovation in a possibly only through effective governance. Build security into your AI development lifecycle so that you can scale your capability with confidence, not fear. And finally, the quantum threat is real. Harvest now, decrypt later scenarios means we must build crypto agility in our systems today. We urge you to take two immediate actions: audit your AI identities infrastructure and launch your post quantum discovery phase within the next 30 days. The GCCs are uniquely positioned to lead the transformation. So let's seize this opportunity to define the future of securing the enterprise innovation. I also thought that I should leave with some of the key resources for further reading. and you can take a photograph of it, or these links or these reports are available. I mean, it's publicly available. So I would want you to really look at these reports, and the standards provide a deep technical and strategic context to execute. These reports, I mean, there's EY GCC Pulse report, which is a lot of conversation around it. McKinsey playbook for safe deployment agentic AI is also a good thing, and of course the NIST post quantum cryptography standards have been published. So there's a lot of material around. I mean, I thought that this could be 5 or 6 reports which could really help you to dive deeper, and start looking at things in a different way. So with that, I hand it over back to you, Kushi.
Absolutely a great perspective and some very great insights to look at, Rohan. These were some amazing insights that really unpacked the critical perspectives on how identity security is evolving and why GCCs must rethink their security posture, and how an identity first approach is becoming so foundational in an agentic and post quantum era. And now, as we have received some excellent questions from the audience, we would like to take them. And you can also find the questions in the question and answer panel for your reference. And we would like to begin with the first question, which is, what are the biggest identity related security gaps that you see today as organizations adopt agentic AI?
Okay. So I think one of the things which, when you have an agentic AI deployed in your system, uh, most of the times we do not realize that the agentic AI is going to work for an agent, for a human at this point of time, which means that he's going to take his credentials and give it to the agent so that the agent can work on his behalf. Now, transferring those human credentials, as well as we would have to give access to a lot of our critical systems. And when we give access to our critical systems, it also has the machine identities and the physical capabilities or the API keys which are going to be shared on this agent. Now, once that's done, and if we forget that the task is happening, everything is good, but the agent can, one is it can act on its own, which can create big challenges in an organization. The other could be that those agents are being now, or those credentials are being used in a way where I can steal those credentials and then reuse it. So putting our credentials into any AI bot, agentic AI, or even a generative AI thing is one which is really challenging, and that is something which needs to be really looked at.
Right, Rohan, and you've definitely, portrayed this all the shifts that actually exist in the identity-related security through your presentation also and through your personal expertise also, which makes us move forward to the next question. So, Dr. Dipankar wants to know something regarding the GCC's role in the academic needs of the disabled.
Can you just say that again?
Yeah. So Dr. Dipankar has a question. He wants to know regarding something about the GCC's role in the academic needs of the disabled.
Okay, so I think GCCs, I mean, we've seen now GCCs not really talking about numbers of how many FTs or full-time employees they will really employ, but they're saying what are these employees going to really deliver.
Right.
So going back to the BPO or the KPO era, where all processes were defined by number of full-time employees, and the costing and everything would go in terms of saying I am going to be a cost center because I consolidate those resources in a, a less expensive place like India. I am able to deliver a better value. I think the shift has gone saying now in a GCC center, I want to bring in the technocrats. I want to bring in really high end technical guys into those places where they're able to give me a better value. And because now there are different skills which work together in one center and have a global view of everything what happens, is something which kind of changes the way I am able to put the future tech landscape for a global organization strategically back to them. The processes which now are owned end to end rather than bits and pieces which had to just be done manually, which is there now. From an education perspective, if you look at it, I think most of the GCCs have started hiring very high caliber people. I mean, they go to most of our large technical institutes like IITs, IIMs, where they have been recruiting and been putting them through a very rigorous and a challenging tasks before they start really getting on and working on larger and very advanced edge cutting systems which are there. So most of the work which gets done today in the GCC is something which should have happened or used to happen in a lot of the universities labs, of well-funded university labs, which kind of is now being funded by the corporate for their own use and done it. So you may have GCCs now which are as small as 100 or 150 people, but doing really great job.
Right, Rohan. And this is actually a very thoughtful and insightful perspective to look at with GCCs evolving, and of course, with agentic AI and post-quantum world taking over the shifts that we are experiencing nowadays. So this makes us move forward to the next question, which is that why should GCC start preparing for post-quantum threats today, even if large-scale quantum attacks are still emerging?
Right. So I think one of the things is that GCCs, the processes and the strategies that the GCCs are building are not short-term goals or short-term activities, which are just being done. It's not a job work. It's a journey. And now the GCCs are being looked at as tech strategists for a large business which is global. Now, as we kind of progress and as their strategies get implemented and as the business starts adopting that tech, we are looking maybe 3 years, 5 years, 10 years down the line where these businesses are kind of completely using what was built in these GCCs and evolved over a period of time in the business. Now, once you have that kind of a situation, you have a unique opportunity to start really looking at what your horizon looks like in the next 5 to 10 years in terms of the technology change and the threat landscape changing. And if you're able to embed that into your processes and your systems and your capabilities that you're creating to run the businesses, a tech business, a tech enabled business, I think you've given an edge over the rest of what the world can really do. And since you kind of start or you culminate or you kind of conceive this at a very small stage and which is going to be scalable over things, I think it's the best time to start. I mean, quantum, we say it's probably going to be 2035, but it could be even earlier. I mean, you've seen most of the large tech companies like Google and IBM are really putting a lot of money in quantum. Uh, there may not be a complete quantum shift by 2035, or it may be, but there are a lot of applications will start coming in. And the threat of harvest now, decrypt later is something which we should really not forget. And that's a very powerful way how adversaries would act on it. I mean, you may not worry about your health record today if you're a 25-year-old kid, but your health record, if it is harvested, I mean, if it is harvested now, and if somebody has to look at it 20 years from now, and your insurance is going to be based on that record, and if I have that information, I can create a very big bias as to what the insurance premium should be. So those are things which we should really be worried about. Not really saying when quantum comes in, I'm going to react. So a proactive approach could really help us.
Absolutely, a great perspective, Rohan, and definitely with the large-scale quantum attacks which are still emerging, this keynotes need to be taken into consideration as well. So, which makes us move forward to the next question. Parth is asking that what role does zero trust play in enabling secure and scalable AI platforms within GCCs?
So I think zero trust is a framework which has evolved over a period of time, and I think when we have been only with humans, there was a trust-based system where you could trust a person. You would know. I mean, if I go back to the pre-COVID world, uh, you would always go to a bank which had a large building, a large safe, and you felt very safe to transact because the infrastructure and the people around it made you feel safe. When we went post COVID, your platform, how secure it was, made sure that you kind of transacted with it. Be it the Amazon platform for e-learning or any of the mobile platform for the banks, you kind of looked at not just from a user perspective, but from a security perspective, how secure the platform was, you started doing that. So we kind of shifted our combination of doing day-to-day life, business, work, everything in a hybrid manner where you had human identities and you had machine identities which work together. And with automation and AI coming in, there has been a huge, what I would say, a cocktail of these identities which make things work. Now, making sure that if I kind of give you an access, and if it's an access, like I give you an access to my office and it's a standing access for forever, you could no longer work with my organization, but you still have access to my office, which means you can come in, have your coffee, do whatever, and go back, which is not really a good thing. So zero trust is an important thing. Every day you come to office, you should be verified. Every time you get into a specified space, which is kind of sensitive, you should be accessed because somebody could use your access card. So it needs to be always verified. And one of the basic principles of zero trust is a continuous validation. So once you get access, one is to access, there's a validation. But once you get access, for every task you do and every time you're doing changing a task, you need to get validated. So this becomes a very effective way of how we manage risk, apart from the least privilege which always been having. So you only know what you need to know is a common term that we do it, right? And this is something which is very good at a security, that if I have least privileges, minimum privileges that I have, what needs to do my work, I even intentionally or unintentionally, I can do less damage to the organization or whatever area of work I am in.
Right, Rohan. And these insights are something that need to be largely looked at with everything, coming into the picture and also making us move so rapidly with the fast evolving landscape as well. So moving forward to the next question, Ashish is asking that what mindset shift is most critical for organizations moving from human control systems to autonomous AI agents?
So I think I always believe that when it comes to, if you have a mindset, you should have a mindset of a hacker. If you start thinking how a hacker can think, you are going to be very, very paranoid. So it's like, I always have this analogy of when I enter my house, I just open the key and I get in. I am very complacent because I know I am in a very safe place. But if I start believing that there may be an intruder in my house when I open, I'm going to be super alert when I open the house. He may or may not be there, but all my senses are going to be up there. So, as a security professional, I think when you're moving from a human to a non-human identities, or even with a combination of both, I think the paranoia is a very important thing. That every time I have a possibility of being hacked, and that's going to keep your senses and all your systems and alerts really up there, so that your possibility and the probability of somebody really taking advantage of your vulnerabilities is going to be limited.
Rightly mentioned. So, moving forward to another one, that what is the criteria to identify vulnerability in vulnerable algorithms?
So I think there can be multiple of it, and there are, I mean, there are enough softwares which can do it. Now there is a little difference now in terms of the algorithms that we look at, because these are still I would still say rudimentary algorithms when it comes to quantum algorithms. Though quantum algorithms are kind of evolving, but there is enough of technology available for our current algorithms to really look at, scan those, look at it, test it, and things like those. And there's a whole process. Like there may be a 30 years process around what people have evolved. Uh, but I think what needs to be really looked at is what can be done when it comes to the quantum algorithms, or a combination. As we kind of go on the quantum journey, what should be the combinations that which will be used for those? And I think that's a very very evolving and a research subject at this point of time, because uh, most of our investments, or most of the companies investments today, are going in building the hardware for the quantum, because that's the most expensive part of it. There is a different part which is being built on the algorithm, which is more of a mathematical and still a university level research, which is happening to start building these quantum algorithms. And this is just going to be an evolving field. It's very difficult to really envisage what could be the vulnerabilities and the challenges around it at this point of time. But it's going to be a very, very interesting and a research subject to really start deep diving. And I'm sure pure maths professionals are really going to do very well. I mean, most of us who have been in a science background would have studied number theories and complex numbers and surds and all those kind of things, which sitting in those classes, I never imagined if complex number is really going to be ever in going to be used, or imaginary numbers are ever going to be used. But when come quantum, all these things become very very relevant parts to the business now.
Yes, and that's really a great example to put out and understand this whole situation in a very easy manner. Rohan. So now we'll have the last two questions that we'll take up. So we have that what capabilities should GCCs build internally to become global leaders in secure AI innovation? This question is by Mahesh.
Yeah, so I think I did go back to the basic stuff of saying, the agentic AI is the adoption is an important part. To build at scale is an important part. And when we are building those systems from grounds up today, I think the security is has to be embedded in the system itself as you kind of conceive, and then build it as you scale. It shouldn't be a second thought, or an afterthought when the systems are running and we say, okay, now I will bring in the CISO of the organization, or the security leader of the organization, and ask him to find faults, or bring in a red team to really find faults in it and do that. I mean, that can be an exercise which will continue to happen. But it's important that at a design phase, security needs to be embedded, and the security needs to be embedded not from a classical way of looking at it, but from an evolving AI generative security which needs to be looked at it, which kind of will be able to evolve as our agentic AI journey evolves in all organizations.
Yes, Rohan, and very rightly, we know that these global leaders have to make it out for all the audience to know that how securing the world in AI innovation is important and significant in today's landscape as well. So, moving forward to the last question, that is by Rahul. He's asking that how should identity and cryptographic strategies evolve to stay resilient in a post-quantum world?
So I think, I mean, it's a little, I would answer this question a little differently. One is from an identity security. I think the evolving part is going to be more on the machine identity side of it. The human identity is well mapped, understood, and I think there are enough technologies around it to take care of the human identities. The evolving machine identities, and what I mean by machine identities, would kind of extend to everything which is a machine which talks to a machine, or a script which talks to a machine, or any of those things which are non-human, I would kind of call it, is an evolving space which is really there. Uh, there are newer technologies which come in play, and they need to get eventually onboarded onto the identity security platform. Uh, it could be just be a two days or a 2 weeks old technology, which if the enterprise decides to use it more from an innovation perspective or even from their day-to-day life, I think it's important that those identities or those systems should be onboarded onto the security platform. And of course, choosing the right security platform is an important part, because that identity security platform has to be agile to be able to absorb and onboard as many systems which kind of evolve in a short time which is there. Otherwise you're going to have a security debt which you start creating, because something which takes time to, which you're using but is not onboarded on that security platform, you are kind of exposed. So that's more from that part of it, I would say. On the quantum side of it, if I have to look at it, I think the first largely affected part of the business is going to be our everyday life, which we kind of do, because most of our post quantum cryptography is a challenging part of it. Like we are doing today a webinar, and it's supposed to be a secure session that we have, but it's on the back end. It is either encrypted with an RSA encryption or a VCC encryption, which no longer may exist with post quantum computing really play in. So, or whether I'm using a bank or I'm kind of using my Aadhaar card or an access card or anything, all these things kind of just don't exist. Exist. I mean, it's like somebody just has now a master key to all my doors and windows and my house and my car. I mean, it's one master key which can be used and done it. Now I can live in that insecure way of hoping that nobody uses my car and nobody lives in my house when I'm not around. Or I start thinking, what can I do differently? What can I change the lock? Can I change where it has been put? Can I put five things? And that's going to be evolving. So I think the post quantum cryptography is a very very large conversation, and I think most of the cybersecurity companies are going to be affected, and I'm sure most of the companies who are in this business have already started their journey as to how they're going to really counter these things. So it's important that the GCCs also start looking at it, because they are a long term player and they're going to be shaping the world tech platforms for most of the businesses moving forward.
Yes. And you beautifully also depicted that how GCCs are evolving, and also at the same time, they are the urge of taking over and considering this landscape as the most evolving one. And Rohan, I would like to ask that we do have just received two more questions. Do you want me to quickly take them up as well?
Yeah, I think we can do that. We still
All
have a
right.
little time.
Yeah. So this is by Sanjay. He's saying that I am senior software developer contributing since last 12 years in software development industry. And how can I contribute in GCCs also?
So I think one is that there is a little bit of an assessment as to be done as to what you do and what the GCCs that you want to work for is really try to do a skill mapping uh, to do that, because the software, whatever people may say, is still going to live, but getting your skills to augment with either with the agentic AI capabilities to assist you to do what you do much better and faster, as well as looking at those skills, what would go in. So, which sector of GCCs that you really want to work in, what you need to do, and things like those. I think that's an assessment that you need to do. And if that's something which you are, once you get those baselining right, I think the opportunities in most of the GCCs would be very very large, because they are always going to be short of resources. It's evolving. There is a lot of investment coming from all over the world. It's no longer just US companies. I mean, we see a lot of Asian companies also coming and investing into India on the GCC side of the business. So there is going to be a lot of variety, a lot of capability building which is happening now. And this is probably one of the best times to start reassessing your current skills and the requirement over a period of time that would be required, and start matching that. And I think that could be a great journey then to embark on.
Great. So Which makes us now ask you the last question for the webinar, which is that in world of agentic AI, there will be combination of human and AI agents as personas. What are your thoughts on distinguishing and implementing security policies for AI agents and this combination per se? This is Fayatul.
So I think one of the new thoughts for most of the managers now should be that you should stop saying that I have so many employees. People, most of the large companies or even small companies, if you go to LinkedIn and you look at the company profile, it would start showing you 0 to 10, 0 to 50, 0 to 100 employees, 0 to 10,000 employees. There's a category which we start looking at the strength of the company with the number of employees. I think we need to first add one more category to it: strength of the agentic AIs that they use, because that's something which is going to start redefining what the company can deliver and in what time and what quality they can define. So I think that's an important part of the combination that needs to be really looked at. Once you do that, I think, uh, as we kind of used a lot of security system, for a human, it could be a what I would say, not just the cyber security, but the physical cyber security systems that we use, right? From accessing the gate, or the access card to get into the office, and to be in a secure area or not to be in a secure area, and things like those. I think those things may not be cyber physical, but for definitely the agent should be looked at as an employee, and all aspects of the employee in terms of right from a hire to retire. The entire life cycle, how we look at an employee, should be looked at it for an agent. So when you kind of hire an agent or you kind of spin up an agent till you retire an agent, all the activities that needs to be done, because he may change task, he may be fed with new knowledge, he may be trained with new LLMs, all that thing, we need to start imagining as if he is our employee, and then start applying the security measures that we would have applied to a human life cycle, or an employee life cycle, in that should be also applied. So the machine identity management is one part of it, but if I look at it from a larger part of it, it is the life cycle, that in that employment period, that we should look at. And I think if we start applying those principles, we would be able to start creating a framework for not just humans, but also for the agents that are going to be working, and a combination of them, how they're going to work out.
Right. This is really a great set of noteworthy key takeaways that you just mentioned through all of the questionnaire round and through the presentation as well, Rohan. So, thanks a lot for that. And of course, there were a lot of questions, but all of them have been answered now. And the session leaves us with plenty to think about, not just the frameworks and strategies shared, but the larger shift in how GCCs can secure autonomy, scale with confidence, and safeguard innovation in the AI driven future. And with that, we finally wrap up this highly insightful session on securing GCC's identity first strategy in an agentic and post quantum world. Thank you once again, Rohan, for your time and valuable perspectives. It was an absolute pleasure hosting you and hearing your expertise.
Thank you, and have a good day.
And a heartfelt thanks as well to our wonderful participants as well for your engagement and thoughtful questions, which made today's session a great success. This session has been recorded and the recording will soon be available on techgig.com. Thank you everyone for joining us. We look forward to see you again in our upcoming sessions.
Thank you.
Thanks.